there's very few, if any. Like, there's maybe one or two documentaries that I can point out that are factual when it comes to 9/11. There is so much videos about 9/11 that are erroneous, like completely, like either basically nuts or like completely just like their facts are wrong, and they had good intentions, and I don't like I can understand why, because I remember telling this guy, his name's Adam Green. I don't know if you've seen him. He's on No More News. When he first started, I told him, I warned him. I said, look, I know that you're against like the anti-Zionist agenda, but I'm going to tell you right now, if you want to be popular, don't be factual consistently. If you're gonna interpret your videos with the fantastical, like the extravagant, like almost borderline conspiracy nuts, but not going fully nuts, you're going to get popular. I said, because the truth, really, factual information is boring, and it's not going to fit well with a lot of people, because a lot of people want that like imaginary enemy, or like with 9/11, I always say with truthers, it's not Jewish enough. With debunkers, it's not Muslim enough, and that's why I'm in the middle. There is a bit of Jewish and Zionist and American conspiracy to a point, but not to the extent these people want it to be. Right? I can make a great argument that Israeli and the United States intelligence knew that these Arab hijackers were here, knew about the plot, what they were going to do, and allowed it to happen. All right, I have no evidence whatsoever to show that they were on the plane, because they weren't. All right, there was one hijacker who I don't even think piloted the plane. His name is Jarrah. The 9/11 Commission states he piloted the plane, but if you look at the transcripts, there's a guy sitting next to the pilot, and he's saying to him, Saeed, put it down. The plane, he's talking about United 93. Now, there was a hijacker named Saeed Al-Ghamdi on the plane, but the 9/11 Commission states that Ziad Jarrah was the pilot, but he wasn't. It was Saeed Al-Ghamdi. The families heard the voice recorder, because they recovered it, and I think they were allowed to listen to it during the Zacarias Moussaoui trial, and the transcript came out, and it showed that Saeed Al-Ghamdi was piloting the plane. So that would refute the fact that Saeed Jarrah was even the pilot. But there's also a lot of questioning surrounding him, because his uncle was Ali Al-Jarrah. His name is Ali Al-Jarrah, and he was a Mossad spy for 30 years in Lebanon. And they just arrested him, I think it was in 2011 or 12, but Lebanese intelligence arrested him. He was a spy for Israel for 30 years. And he's affiliated with Ziad Jarrah. I'm not saying that I have, that's concrete evidence that Ziad Jarrah was working for Israeli intelligence. There's no evidence to suggest this. But Ziad Jarrah never lived with the hijackers. He never lived with Muhammad Ali. He lived alone. And he was never really followed by German authorities when he was in Hamburg. He was not even overtly religious. When they tried to do the martyr video between him and Muhammad Atta, they tried to do a video with just Ziad Jarrah. He kept laughing. He kept redoing it, and the FBI states that he wasn't even serious. But it makes you wonder, like, what was his story about? I did an expose on him on my page, but you get these people that say that he wasn't even on the plane or something like that. I don't know. There is no like video evidence of him boarding the plane, but he got his boarding pass. In fact, his boarding pass was paid for by of all people Zacarias Moussaoui in Oklahoma.
But he wrote to his girlfriend that she should be proud of him and stuff like that.
Right, and he says that we'll meet up again one day in the future or in the after. But his letter, like, because he called her, he was at the airport because he called her I believe it was at Logan or no, Logan. I think it was Logan. He calls. No, I'm sorry, Dulles. He calls her and he tells her he loves her 3 times, and then he hangs up. He hangs up and whatever. But he, you know, no, that Bango. Thank you very much, Eric. Yeah, it was out of Newark Airport. But you know, he got his boarding pass. He went through security, and when they interviewed security, it was called Oregon Bright Security, and they interviewed the security that day. I mean, the FBI was there that day at Logan, at Dulles, at Newark, and they interviewed the people. Say, hey, you know, he got his boarding pass. But that's why I put in an FOA request about the security, because the night before 9/11, at September 10th, it was a Monday evening. Supposedly, at Logan Airport, there was a security supervisor for the tarmac. Right? There's like, I don't know how to explain this to you, but there's like, you know, they prep the planes the night before they go out. So they're on a place called the tarmac. Okay, so the only people that are allowed on the plane are the maintenance, right? So maintenance, you know, they prepare the food, they prepare the plane for the next day. Supposedly, there's a security guard there. His name is Eric Gill. Now he's a supervisor for security at Logan Airport. He tells the FBI that at 8 o'clock, approximately 8 p.m. on September 10th, he notices 6 guys that go through regular security and they pass and they come to the door, to the tarmac door, but they don't have like a security pass to get through. But he notices 3 guys are dressed as pilots, but their uniforms are really dirty, like really filthy dirty, and the other 3 are not even dressed as pilots. And he says that they want to get in, but they were very aggressive to him, saying we need to get on the plane. And he says, you know, I would let you on if you had the security clearance to do so. So they yell at him, and one guy actually curses at him. He tells him to go fuck himself, and he's being very belligerent for the next 2 minutes. So they turn around and leave. He gets off like at 3 a.m. He goes home or whatever. But the next day, he's driving to Walmart. He hears about what's happening, and he hears about 2 planes leaving Logan Airport. They crash, and he immediately goes back. So the FBI interviews him, and they show him a lineup because he tells the FBI what happens. All right, so they show him a bunch of pictures of the hijackers, and he points out 2 of them, and he says there was these 2 guys. We're at the airport last night yelling at me, and one of them was Nawaf al-Hamzi. Now, Nawaf al-Hamzi was on board American 77, I think. Or American 77. Because Ala Dulles. So he shows him this, and I forgot the other hijacker. I don't know who but the other hijacker wasn't on 77. He was on 175 or 11, the ones that hit the World Trade Center. So there was they think he got that wrong, but he says that the guy, he knows the one guy who was cursing at him. It was Nawaf al-Hamzi. Now, to back that claim up, they were staying at a hotel across the street from that airport. In the hotel was another Saudi delegate, and I forgot his name, but the FBI interviews him the next day, and when they're interviewing him about saying that, hey, you know, the room next door to you had Nawaf al-Hamzi and the other people, he faints in the middle of the interrogation. Like he fakes it, he faints or whatever, and the FBI, you know, like writes down that he's, you know, acting up and doesn't want to talk to us. So that guy actually calls a U.S. embassy nearby in Washington, and they tell the FBI not to question him again. But they send another FBI agent out the next day, and he refuses to answer any questions. And on September 15th, that the planes were allowed to fly away, you know, they're allowed to depart again. He leaves for Saudi Arabia. Never interviewed again. So it makes you wonder. I think what happened was that, and there's a good book called Unsafe at Any Altitude, and it was a really good book. It was probably the most obscure book I've ever read on 9/11 because there was no other book like it. It talked about the security at the airports.